I hope you had a super awesome week. And before I get started today, I want to say a quick thank you to everyone who has supported me, shared my podcast, and has given me feedback. You guys rock. This week, I have a very special guest. I cannot say enough good things about this girl. She is one of the sweetest people I've had the pleasure of knowing, and it's truly a gift to the world that she's still here and able to tell us her story. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Carly.
So explain prior to November 26, 2018. What did your life look like?
Okay, so I had just moved back to Niagara back in September, so I was still kind of trying to get used to my routine in Niagara, and I just started a new job. So for the most part, I was working full-time. I was doing shift work, so sometimes during the days, sometimes in the evenings. On my free evenings, I was doing kickboxing classes. Tuesday mornings at 5 a.m. I was going to do weight classes. So I was getting up early almost every day, kind of trying to get some kind of workout in every day. I was going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, and then if I wasn't doing my classes, I had volleyball on Thursdays. So I was literally like every day was something new. In my free time, I was like cooking, meal prepping, making sure that I had like stuff planned out for the week. So it's like any time that I had any waking time that I had something to do. It was like go, go, go.
I've seen your food. It always looks so good. Now, before that even, I know you did a lot of traveling too. Mm-hmm. Where have you been?
I've been to Cambodia. I did 2 trips there, 7 weeks in total. I spent volunteering at some of the orphanages there, and I taught English, hung out with the kids, and that's kind of where I decided that I wanted to work with the people that I work with now, or just help people. So
that must have been an incredible experience.
Oh, it was my favorite.
Was it scary when you went to Cambodia? Because you went by yourself, didn't you? Or did you go with a friend?
Both. So the first time I went by myself, so just out of high school. A lot of changes at that time, and then I went, and it was like the best thing ever. And then I went again after I graduated college. I went with one of my friends.
Were you scared to go by yourself?
It was terrifying to go by myself because I had flown to like Florida and Vegas before that. So traveling across the world by myself, it was kind of like a big kick to adulthood. So I've been to Cambodia, Europe, all over the States. And I've only been to a few places in Canada, but eventually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Now, do you want to talk about what happened on November 26, 2018?
Sure. I have no specific memory of that day, kind of just what I can recall from reading my text. So I remember like sending the text that day, but it kind of feels like super disconnected. Like it didn't happen on that day. It's like stuff that I remember, but any like real recollection I don't have. So everything that I know is just from what people have like repeated to me. Like, this is how your day went. I went to work. I don't really remember work. I came home and I guess I had a fight with my boyfriend. So we were fighting, and there was like a few hours between work and my kickboxing class. So I was upstairs with my parents. I guess I wasn't in a good mood. I was pissed off, and I was texting my sister-in-law to say that I didn't really want to go to class tonight. I was feeling tired. I was like, do you just want to hang out? And she was like, no, I'm going to go to class still. So I was like, frig. Okay, I'll go.
Right.
So I decided to go, and I didn't talk to my boyfriend, so we kind of left on like really bad terms. And I don't remember anything about the class. So yeah, I woke up 2 days later and kind of had everything thrown at me, everything that happened.
Wow. So, okay. So just to be clear, so you don't remember anything from that day at all?
No, nothing from my own memory, just what people have told me, and then what I can see on my phone.
So all of a sudden you wake up and it's 2 days, November 28th.
Yeah.
And what happens? You wake up and you're like, where am I? What is going on?
I guess that's how it went. So when I woke up, I wasn't fully conscious of things, I would say, until maybe Wednesday night, but Thursday is when I kind of started to remember consciously, because I was so like drugged up from everything. When I woke up, I guess I was just like, what happened? I wasn't like upset or angry or like thrashing or anything, but they did have restraints on me in case I did start thrashing, because I guess Monday night when I got to the hospital, I went through a period with the paramedics where like I woke up, I don't remember this, but I woke up and I started fighting them, so they had to like restrain me because I was so aggressive.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. But when I woke up, my boyfriend and his mom came to see me like right in the morning, and they said that I wasn't supposed to wake up till like the afternoon, that kind of stuff, but when they got there, I guess I was already woken up. So they were in my room, and my parents had gotten there shortly after, and my boyfriend's mom like walks out crying, I guess. So my parents are like, oh my god.
What happened?
Yeah, like, why are you crying? What happened? And she's like, no, she's just awake, So they were excited that I was awake, and I was asking like about my tongue. My tongue was super swollen, and I had like eaten it alive. It was so swollen just from the breathing tubes and stuff down my throat. So I was talking about my tongue a lot, and my fingers were super swollen as well. So I was calling them marshmallow fuckers. And just every 10 minutes I was talking about my tongue, asking why I was there, talking about my fingers, and just complete repetitiveness that whole day.
Now, for people listening, and for you at this point, you're not even sure why you're in the hospital.
No, I had
let
no
alone
idea.
why your tongue feels like this and why you have these marshmallow fingers. We'll go with fingers.
Yeah, I had no idea. So, for me, it was just everybody throwing things at me, like, oh, you did this happened. I'm like, what the hell? This is like, it's like a dream, kind of, because I don't remember anything about it, and I have all these people like, oh my god, we're so happy you're awake. It's like, why am I awake? What put me to sleep, kind of thing.
Right.
So while I was asleep, they were warned, like, I could have brain damage, and it would be hard to tell, like, what the outcome would be, because I was unconscious for like 10 minutes. So it took them a long time to revive me, and all that time without oxygen flowing to my brain, they're like, anything could happen.
Now, I can kind of give a perspective from the other side.
Okay.
At this point. Because
I don't have another side, so I just know, like, I just know what's been thrown at me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know from my perspective, I had gone on Facebook. I think I was at work, because I think I was on a day shift, I want to say, because I believe what happened was I hadn't been on for a couple hours, and then I'd gone on and I seen all these posts about you. You know, they were saying, be strong, Michelle, and all these different things, and I just immediately panicked, and I was like, what happened to Michelle? What's going on? I'm looking through trying to find some sort of answer, and I believe I saw a post, I think your dad had posted about what had happened, and it's kind of how it worked, was everybody was so worried about you, right, and wanting to know what was going on. So your dad was, and I think your mom too, was trying to keep people updated, right?
Yeah, everything was on Facebook, so I was able to see like a progression of from the time I went down till the day I woke up, like, she's awake, blah blah blah. So it's, yeah,
it must be weird you're basically reading your life.
Yeah,
like you're reading what happened, the same way that, like, I read that you had, I believe what I had read in the original post was that you're gonna look up and see.
I think it was probably from my mom. She doesn't post nearly as much as my dad does.
It was 3 a.m. then on November 27th that she had posted. The post was, to all my family and friends that have heard about Michelle, she collapsed tonight at kickboxing. She had no pulse, and after about 20 minutes, the paramedics got a pulse after doing a fib on her. She is now in ICU and in a induced coma on life support.
Right.
So basically that's what we knew, was that you were on life support and in a coma after collapsing. And all I could think of was, how is this possible? You have this young, healthy, you're the last person I ever would have imagined something like this happening to. Amazing person. Okay, so just to go back again. So that's what was happening while you were in your coma. You have no idea what's going on. And everybody in your world knows that this is what happened. So you wake up, all these people are probably not sure what to do, right?
Yeah, so I had, like, my mom just pretty much preparing for the worst, like, just so terrified that I'm dead, and my brothers are thinking, like, no, she can't be the one, like, the first one out of us, because there's 5 of us. You can't be the first kid to die, like, your parents have to go first, you can't. And then I had my boyfriend, like, worrying, like, we just had a big fight, like, is that how we're gonna end things, kind of thing. So it's like everybody has their different, like, different things going through their mind. And
Yeah.
like, my brother's like, well, she just fought the paramedics, she's gonna be fine. Well, it kind of shows, like, my fight or flight is there, and that, you know, there's still some fight left in me. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I think that was, I know, conversations I had with, like, my aunt and my dad and basically everybody that I was talking to, that we know. It was like, Michelle's such a fighter. You know, there's no way this is going to take her down.
Yeah.
But in the back of your mind, you know that there's still that small chance. And I know all we hoped for was that, especially that you would wake up, and also that there wouldn't be any damage. Because like you said, that was a major concern.
Yeah, it was. And I think, like, with the amount of people, like, well wishes and people thanking me and thoughts and prayers and everything that I received from so many people, like, I feel like that was something that helped me get through it, because, like, even waking up to that and seeing everybody writing to me, it was just like, holy shit, something actually did happen.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that are, like, on my side. So it was such a great feeling, and I think that really helped with, like, keeping me positive, and
just knowing that many people love and care about you.
Yeah, and there was so much support, like, from my work, from my friends and family and everything. It was, like, so crazy. It was really, really nice.
I have, like, goosebumps. I can't.
It's still hard for me. It doesn't feel real. It feels like a dream, and it's just something that I can't visually see, but the play-by-play and everything, everybody has a different perspective from it, so it's like telling the whole story in so
You have to kind of piece it together.
Yeah.
Who told you exactly what had happened? Or was it pieces from various people, like you said?
I think when I was, like, kind of conscious, I had a doctor in there and it explained to me, like, what happened, but I don't know, it's so hard to say. My family might have been the ones to kind of seriously tell me what happened, like, more bluntly, not like the doctor talk of, this happened, you had a cardiac arrest, blah, blah, blah.
So is that what the doctor had said?
I think so. It's hard to remember for sure, but I think that's what the doctor told me. And then, yeah, my parents were just like, I got the call, because I was with my sister-in-law when everything happened. So she literally watched me drop right in front of her face.
Oh my God.
So she saw that, they stopped, like, the class and stuff. She called my parents and my boyfriend, like, everybody had kind of met in the same place. It was literally 5 minutes from my house, like, not even 5 minutes from my house. So
did you remember? Oh, I guess because you don't remember from that day. I was gonna say, do you remember feeling weird or anything before
my mom
dropping? But
so the text that I sent to my sister-in-law was pretty much just me saying, like, I was tired, I didn't feel like doing it, I was just wanting to hang out. So I think that's kind of a sign that.
You think that could have been a sign?
Yeah.
Especially since you were somebody so active, right?
Exactly.
Maybe that would have been something you normally would have wanted to do, but just feeling tired and not wanting to go. In hindsight, perhaps that was a sign?
Yeah, I think it was a sign. And before then, I did have 2, like, incidences where I thought it was just kind of anxiety, but it could have actually been my heart. 2 years ago, I was at the gym on the treadmill, and I had just done, like, high intensity stuff, and I was just coming down to do my cool down, and I felt everything, like, close in on me and go black, and I actually fainted off the treadmill.
Really?
Yeah, so somebody, like, saw me faint, and they helped me up, and the gym gave me, like, some sugar stuff, because we thought, like, my blood sugar, or my blood pressure or whatever had dropped, and I just needed some sugar restoring, whatever. We're thinking that could have been a time that my heart maybe stopped, and we'd never looked into it because it never happened again.
Wow.
And then another time, which was more recent, it was about maybe August or so, just before we moved back here. I was working with my trainer, and I just started to get really anxious. My heart rate started to go up, so I think maybe that too was another time that could have been like, you need to get something checked, because something could happen. And, like, I spent a lot of time driving, and a lot of time by myself, like when I lived in Burlington. So I think if something could have happened back then, I would have been screwed.
I've thought about that. So what they determined was you did go into cardiac arrest, right?
I had a sudden cardiac arrest, so I did technically die.
And that could have happened at any point, pretty much in any place, right? If you had been working out at home, really, it could have happened anywhere.
Yeah. And I've read too that like if people are outside of the hospital, they have a 5% chance of surviving. And the majority of people don't know how to react to like that kind of situation. So when I was in the kickboxing class, I had like my teachers, obviously they're first aid trained, but I had a nurse and a paramedic in the class. So it was the paramedic's first class, like what are the chances for that? And I just literally couldn't have had better people around me, and the paramedics, like the EMS, they weren't far away either. So the nurse and the paramedic, from my understanding, kind of went back and forth until the paramedics got there. So like, perfect people in my class, like so lucky.
I think it's safe to say that you were meant to, you know, your journey wasn't over yet, and you were meant to get past that and still be here. Like, it's the wrong thing to happen, but definitely you were in the right place at the right time for something like this to happen.
Yeah, like my circumstances couldn't have been any better.
Let's go back to the hospital. So once you found out what had happened to you and you're starting to come to, and the doctor comes in and tells you, okay, you went into cardiac arrest, what next?
So I think for like the first few days, so from Monday to Wednesday morning when I woke up, it was kind of just keeping me cold and comfortable so that I could wake up. And then the next 2 days I kind of spent coming down from the drugs and stuff, and that's where like I had a lot of visitors. I had so many people come to see me. So that was nice. Like I don't remember that, but I remember like floating faces. So I know people were there. And the next few days I kind of just spent doing a bunch of different tests. They did CT scans on me. I did an MRI. I had a ton of blood tests. They did kidney tests, a whole lot of everything. And I just had people kind of coming in and out and keeping me comfortable. From Monday till Sunday, I was in Niagara, and then Sunday night I got transferred to Hamilton because they have a really great heart team there. So it was cool. The paramedics that I beat up the first night were actually the same paramedics who they came to visit me when I was up there, and then they're the same ones that transported me. So like super great people.
That's
like,
amazing.
We were like joking and laughing and stuff, and it was really cool to see them after because they're the ones that literally saved my life.
That's incredible.
So it was really cool. Then they brought me to Hamilton. When I was in Hamilton, that's where I kind of started doing all the heart stuff. I had the cardiologist come see me, and then we decided that I would go into this study. So either way, I was getting a defibrillator put into my heart. But there's this study that they're doing right now through Boston Scientific, and it's called the Atlas study. So it's kind of comparing defibrillators that go through your heart compared to ones that are kind of in your body but don't go in your heart. So for the study, I was randomly picked to, like, randomly drawn to have the subcutaneous defibrillator put in me. So that defibrillator is not put in my heart, but I have like a device in the side of me, and then I have a wire that goes through my chest. So it's on the whole, like outlining like the left side of my body, and if my heart rate was ever to go like between 200 and 250, it would give me a shock and like regulate my heart.
Wow.
So it's not quite like a pacemaker because it doesn't pace my heart, but it just shocks it to kind of like restart it.
Wow. And so you had that surgery done?
Yeah, I had that surgery, so it's like a cartridge that I have put in my side now, and I have a nice scar on my side and a nice scar in the middle of my chest.
Can you feel it? I know that's a weird question. You can feel it?
Yeah, I'll show you it after. It's like the weirdest thing. I'm used to it now, and I guess like some people have like a hard time with it because you kind of look deformed a little bit, I guess, but for me, it's nothing that I'm really concerned about because
it's saving your life possibly, right?
Yeah, so I'm lucky that I don't have like those kind of worries and stuff, but that is a big thing with people, and they get depressed, and I'm very lucky that I don't feel like that.
Yeah, for sure. Did they determine if this was something that randomly occurred, or if this was something that did you have an issue with your heart throughout your life, or was this something that recently developed? Were they able to determine that?
So I did a bunch of blood work that was sent away to check to see if it's a genetic issue. If it's a genetic issue, then everybody in my family needs to be checked. So like my siblings and my nieces and nephews and stuff, just to see if they have that. If it's something that I was born with, then it kind of is what it is.
I just realized I'm jumping all over because the whole ADD thing. So with the study,
yes.
Now with the study, so they're comparing what you have versus the other type of defibrillator.
Yeah, the one that I have is I think it's fairly newer, so they're kind of trying to see if the old one, which is called a transvenous, and that goes through your heart, if there's less complications with the one that I have compared to the one that goes through your heart. So less infection, they're looking for that kind of stuff. So the one that I have is more suited for younger patients without a need for pacing my heart. So my heart doesn't need the pace, it just needs the shock.
Right.
And they're just trying to see what is better, if there's any higher risk of infection between the two, or that kind of thing. They're just kind of trying to compare them. So I went for a 1-month checkup, and it was kind of just a questionnaire, see how I'm feeling. They looked at it to see how it's healing and stuff, and then in 6 months they can check in with me and see how things are going again, and if there's any issues. It's 2 years, and it's just every 6 months, I guess.
Wow, I can imagine they don't have a lot of opportunities.
No, it's a small study. It's the only one in Canada, to my knowledge, and there's only 500 people. So I'm part of a group of 500 people, and based on the needs, but I guess based on my needs, the one that doesn't need a pacing option is better.
Yeah.
So
that's really interesting, because I'm sure from the sounds of it, it would be a less invasive surgery also, because if they're not having to go into the heart. Yeah,
they're not going into my heart, so there's just a small 1.5 inch, maybe 2-inch cut on my side, and you can see the device. Sometimes I can feel it, and I have to be careful with it. And then with the cut in my chest, it's just a 1-inch cut in between my chest, and they threaded the wire up my chest and then around underneath my breast, I think. So yeah.
And how has your life changed since the surgery, and since being in the hospital, and since suffering that?
So since I've gotten home, it's been a complete life shift, because I was so used to go, and I was constantly doing something, and I had a lot of responsibilities, and I was working. Now it's just I'm home all the time. I'm not working out anymore. I can't drive.
So they put restrictions on you for work, for working out, for...
Yeah.
What type of restrictions?
So for driving, I can't drive for 6 months, and I think that's because I seized when I was before, during, after, I don't know, something with the cardiac arrest. When they were trying to get me back, I seized, I guess. So with work, I won't be going back until I see my cardiologist, I guess, which is in March. So I can go back and I can do a slow return back to work. We'll see what I can put up with.
Mm-hmm.
And working out, it's going to be very different for me now, because I can't do high intensity stuff. I can't do contact stuff, not I ever played soccer or football.
Right.
But I have to take it easy and just be careful. No physical body contact, risking getting my thing touched. It would really hurt, I think.
So you have to keep yourself kind of in, almost in a cushiony bubble, in a sense. So
yeah.
You can maybe do yoga and treadmill or elliptical, but not too...
Yeah, I can't do high intensity stuff. Hopefully eventually I'll get back to where I was with weights. I just don't know a lot about it yet, and I always feel I can do more than I probably should. So I have to get used to kind of restricting myself and making sure that I'm not pushing myself more than I should. But I've been able to get back to regular daily activities. I can do groceries and cleaning, and I've gone back to my cooking and stuff. So I'm not getting out of breath as soon as I start doing stuff anymore, and I'm not taking as frequent breaks. I do still spend a lot of time in between doing those activities, kind of recovering and hanging out, but...
Did you feel yourself getting more tired quicker after you first got home from the hospital?
It was hard. Even showering, I was gassed. It would take me 40 minutes in the shower just to do my normal 10-minute routine. The healing for my side, because they literally took this device and stretched it under my skin, so every time I moved, it would send like a shooting, searing pain. Like,
I can't even imagine.
So uncomfortable. So for the first week and a half, I didn't want to move. I didn't want to do anything, because every time I shifted like my upper body, it was just like constant fire burn. So once I got past that, it was kind of easier to start doing stuff, and it wasn't like tiring me out and gassing me as much.
That makes sense.
Yeah. In other ways, my life has changed a lot at the beginning when I still had questions that I hadn't talked to my doctor about yet. I was really worried about like the device going off. I had no idea what my restrictions were, like what my threshold for not receiving a shock was. So I thought, like, if I go up the stairs and I get too exhausted and my heart rate shoots, like, am I going to get shocked? So there was a lot of worrying, like, if I was overexerting myself, was I just going to drop and get shocked? So I had some anxiety going places. Like, I was at the mall Christmas shopping, like, a few days after I was home. So it was hard to move around because of my side. It was still hurt, but I still had to get my shopping done. So I could just feel like standing in the line at a store, and my body just started to drain. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting anxious here. Like, my heart's going to fucking blow up.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, so it would just like physically overcome me, and then I just have to like talk myself down. And when I can talk myself down and check in, I'm able to bring myself down and feel more rational about what's going on. But still too, it's hard because I didn't know what my threshold was. So trying to save myself, but it didn't matter what I said. If my thing was going to go off, it would go off. But thankfully it never did.
Like, yeah, it's probably something with time where the more you're slowly getting back into doing and you see, okay, I can do this and I'm okay, I can do that and I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's something that might help your anxiety a little bit, do you think?
Yeah, it was like exposing myself and making sure that I felt safe with who I was with. For a while, it was like I didn't want to be by myself, and if I was, like, if my boyfriend was at work, then I was upstairs with my parents, so I always wanted to be around somebody. I did return to the boxing club for the Christmas party.
Did you?
Yeah, so it was cool to see everybody, and there's a lot of people there that were in the class when it happened, so them asking me, like, oh my God, how are you? Like, how is everything? That kind of stuff is kind of, like, weird for me because it's people, like, outside of my family. I had my family around me the whole time, and you would think that they'd be the ones most affected by it, but the people that were in the class, they're like, oh my God. And they were so caring, too, when they were talking to me. So many different people were affected by it.
Yeah, because they would have just seen, like, this happen to you and see them working on you and see you get taken away.
Yeah, and it could have easily happened to them, too, because they're doing the same stuff that I am.
Right.
So, yeah, it's crazy, and I had some anxiety going there, and it was kind of emotional for me to go there, but I think it was good for me that I was able to get there and relax and kind of face it and just keep myself focused on breathing and trying to relax, because it was hard sometimes where I'd be sitting there having a conversation and then I'd just feel myself getting worked up, and it's like, no, it's fine. You don't need to worry about anything. You have good people there, obviously.
It's that self-dialogue, right?
Yeah.
You have to kind of keep telling yourself.
Constantly. And I'm still learning to be okay and recognizing that I'm not as fragile as I could be, kind of. It's still hard for me to say that, and I try to push myself, but I'm also learning to, like, listen to my body and make sure that I'm not pushing myself too hard, because I always used to do that.
I was going to say, for you, it's probably this weird dynamic where you feel super fragile and you're scared to do too much, but at the same time, you probably have this inner desire to push yourself really hard because that's who you are as nature, right?
Exactly.
So, to find that balance, right?
Yeah.
That's healthy for you.
It's a big learning process, and it's really I can psych myself out sometimes, too, and I did that a lot, like, when I first got home. I was, like, laying in bed, and I would make my heart rate go up, like, worrying about it. So it's like, your brain does a lot, and a lot of that is fighting my brain and trying to make sure that I know it's going to be fine.
I can't even imagine, because you're basically, it's regular, you have like, people, lots of people have anxiety, right? But in your case, you even having anxiety, what you're having anxiety over is your body, and you having the anxiety can affect that very thing. So it's this very strange thing, I'd imagine, where you're trying to keep yourself calm to prevent the very thing that you're having anxiety about. Can we talk about your blog a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so I noticed that you had started a blog called Manners of Michelle. First of all, I just want to say you're a fantastic writer, and I absolutely loved reading it. And there are a lot of things that I read in there that just I feel a lot of people can kind of learn from. So you talk about resilience in your blog. What does resilience mean to you?
For me, I feel like resilience is having the tools to get through a tough situation without giving up. And when I talk about tools, I mean like different strategies and things that you can do. Like for me, I'm talking myself down when I have anxiety, and I'm staying in tune with like what my body needs and what my body feels and stuff. Checking in with my thoughts and knowing how to remove myself and give myself breaks when I'm starting to feel like that. It's good that people know how to mentally protect themselves when things like this come up, when there's things that are really hard to get through, and when there's some kind of like crisis in your life. I feel like if you don't have resilience, then you're not going to be able to get through it and learn something and kind of understand that you're going to be able to get through something just as hard like at another time. I think it's too continuing to have the ability to step back and think rationally. Having built those different strategies and that kind of stuff, you're able to not impulsively act on things, and you're not making rash decisions in the moment. You're able to calm down and check in with yourself when something bad is happening and kind of figure out the best way to go with that.
Do you think that this is something that's harder for people who are in a line of work where their main focus is to help other people?
Yeah, I think it's somewhat hard for someone just starting in the field of helping people. We all like hear so much about like self-care and that kind of stuff, and I think resilience is a lot about self-care, but it's not to be confused with like just simply relaxing or having a bath or like doing a spa day, like that kind of stuff. That's nice for your body and stuff, but mentally I think you have to be able to check in with yourself, and that's the harder part of the resilience, is the actively working on what needs to change to make yourself stronger kind of thing. For me, like baths and that kind of stuff, those are the fluffy parts of resilience, and the harder stuff is the stuff that makes you grow, and the things that get you through a hard time is when you're mentally able to prepare yourself and learn from other hard times. I think another part of struggling when you're trying to be resilient is because it's such a big mental game, there's always times when it's you versus your brain and your anxiety and like the outside pressure to just give up and maybe take like the easiest way out of things. And I think it's resilience is stepping back and again using those strategies and evaluating a rational outcome for what can make you successful with that. It's also good to recognize like you're still allowed to feel your emotions, like angry and upset and stuff, but recognizing you are able to validate them and move on, which is what makes it really important, is that ability to move on and don't let it get you down and
don't sit in it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You sit in it, then whatever it is has won. You're not resilient.
I feel what can be a challenge for some people would be to kind of leave their work at work and not bring those emotions home with them.
Yeah, it is hard, like especially when you're in the helping field, you have a lot of empathy for people.
Yeah.
So like to not internalize things sometimes, it's really hard. I've learned a lot, or I've had to learn a lot in ways to like keep myself and my life separate from work, because in this field like you're gonna burn out. So helping people, like it's amazing and it's so fulfilling, but it burns you out so quickly. So having resilience too, it kind of keeps you going. It allows you to separate things, and I think I credit a lot of my coping abilities to my profession and what I've been through with helping other people. So for me, I try not to spend a lot of time focusing on things and giving my energy towards things that aren't going to help me or benefit me. It can be selfish, but I think that my independence means a lot, and working on myself has been a big work in progress for the last few years, like especially being away from home and stuff. It's been me, that's been my lifestyle. So I spent a lot of time by myself, and I was able to, that's where I kind of started to learn more about myself and how my feelings, like how I felt after situations like that, because literally just sit there and talk to myself.
Right.
Because sometimes like Mike wouldn't be home or whatever, and I just needed to get it out. But it really helped me like recognize a lot of things that I was feeling, and it just kind of built me up. So like my confidence was higher, and I had more time to focus on things that deserved my energy.
And so focusing on yourself, like you said, about being selfish, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes we automatically, when we start looking at what's best for ourselves and, taking time for ourselves, sometimes we do feel guilty about those things. I think it's really important we don't, because the more we focus on what's best for us, the better it is, not only for us, but you'll do better at work. You'll do better just in life in general, and it'll be beneficial to people around us.
It will be, and I feel like when I moved away and it was just me, like, I'd come home and stuff and I'd see my friends, but, like, you don't see them every day like you used to, so you learn to live by yourself and, like, do things on your own and that kind of stuff. I think a lot of that made me a little bit more selfish, but, like, I never really made time for myself before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I have all this time to focus on me, like, let's take advantage of that and let's grow. So, yeah, that's what I did while I was away. I was away for 3 years, so it was like a lot of time for me, and I think I really needed that, and I don't feel bad. I'm so happy that I was able to do that. Like, my relationships changed and relationships were affected, but it was part of the cost of, like, finding myself, and I don't think anything else could have given me that kind of experience.
For sure.
Yeah.
And do you think in a way that's kind of helped you now that you have to, like, you've kind of been forced into this situation where you have to be so careful with yourself, right? You're more fragile now, right?
Yeah, I am.
So you didn't have to really adjust as much to paying attention to those things in yourself, because you had already been doing that, right?
Yeah. I feel like I was for the most part. And it still wasn't easy. Like, I was depending on, like, my family and depending on Mike so much that I was like, now I'm just a burden, because, like, I take care of myself. I do my own stuff, and I'm kind of learning that it's not a bad thing to rely on people, and that's part of getting through things, using what tools you have, and sometimes the tools you have are the people that you have around you.
Absolutely.
And I would do things for them 10 times over with, like, the amount of help that I've had from my family, my friends, like, my work. Everybody's been so accommodating. It doesn't seem like it's this big serious thing. Like, I know the severity of it. Like, when I think of people who have had near-death experiences, you'd think they'd be, like, terrified for life. And, like, I'm scared, of course, but it's, like, it's not something that I constantly think about, and because I didn't go through it consciously.
Right.
And it's just everybody else telling me what happened, so I don't know, it's interesting.
That's what I was going to ask you, if you have any fears. I think you touched on that when you had said you were concerned in a way about if and when that defibrillator would go off again.
Yeah, it's always been in the back of my mind. If I lived my life just thinking, like, when is this going to go off? Like, I'm focusing so much on things that I don't need to think about because it's interfering with other good stuff.
For sure.
So, yeah, it's something I'm getting over with that. Another fear that I had too when I first got home was, like, how are people going to treat me? Like, are they going to think that I'm just super fragile, they can't touch me, they can't talk to me wrong because I'm emotional, or feel like they can't bring it up because it's such a sensitive topic, but I don't feel like it's a sensitive topic. It doesn't upset me. Like, sometimes when I think about it and I hear about, like, what other people were going through, like, during those times, it makes me upset. It's something that I'm very empathetic about, but it's hard for me because I didn't go through it like they did.
What about the flip side? How has your perspective just on life in general changed at all?
I'm going to focus on things that I wanted to do before that I just constantly procrastinated with. Like, I feel like I've been given that second chance. I'm setting up things that I wanted to kind of do before, but, like, more concretely. So I want to do nutrition courses and kind of focus some energy towards that and doing that kind of stuff and cooking. And so I want to put things into place to get that going. And then that'll be, like, the start of my second chance.
So in a way, it's almost as though you've realized how short life can be, and instead of maybe not putting those things in motion, you feel in a way, I don't want to say like there's fire under your ass, but
the fire is burning.
but
there is a fire burning.
You know the value of time, and
yeah, there is a big change of perspective with like the value of time. It's like spending time with people, not leaving things burning, like bad arguments and that kind of stuff. Like, squash it right away. Deal with it now. Don't leave the house when you're mad. Don't go to bed when you're mad. That kind of thing. I've learned that there's a big value in treating your relationships as they should be, because you don't know.
Right. And also in your blog, you talk about allowing ourselves to focus on our own strengths and not giving up. What do you think is the biggest struggle people face when trying to be their best selves?
I feel like a lot of the struggle people face is constantly comparing themselves to other people. That if you think you're not at a place that you should be and you're comparing your progress with somebody else, whether it's like how much money you're making, how much weight you're losing, or whatever, when you're constantly looking at other people's progress, you're missing the small wins, or you're putting your stuff on the back burner kind of thing, because you're not focusing your direction and your energy towards that. I feel like a lot of people give up before they reach anything just because it's hard. For me, a lot of things are just try and fail.
Yeah.
But as long as you're still trying and you're still failing, that means you're learning something from it and you haven't stopped just because you got knocked down.
Oh, I know that story real too well. There's so many times with various, I've had a lot of projects that I've tried to do, and a lot of different, whether it be trying to lose weight or get fit, or writing, or when I was doing YouTube, which, maybe eventually I'll go back to that. Starting this podcast, it's like there's been times even before I even get started on a project where I wanted to give up.
Right.
But it's knowing that you're never going to get there if you give up. And I'd rather fail 25 or 100 times and then get there than fail once and never give myself the opportunity.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like we have, like, our brains are our biggest obstacle, so if we're not believing in ourselves and like that kind of stuff, then our brain is just going to shut down anything that we want to do. It's cool because I'm reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I've heard of this.
So it's a really good book, and there's it talks about like goal setting and comparing yourself and stuff. One of the examples he gives in the book is about this guy who was kicked out of a band. He was so butthurt about being kicked out of the band that he worked his ass off and he became like an amazing musician. So he became a musician, had a super successful band. So it was the guy that put together Megadeth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this guy, super well known, like all over the world, super successful, that kind of thing. He didn't feel like he was successful because the band that he got kicked out of turned out to be Metallica.
Wow.
So Metallica, obviously, crazy successful, more successful than Megadeth. So this guy spent his whole life feeling like he was still a failure because his band, no matter how successful he was still comparing their success to Metallica's.
Right.
Obviously, not even close, but
we'll never be happy, I think, as long as we're comparing ourselves to other people, right? There's always going to be somebody better, and there's always going to be somebody worse.
Right. So I think a lot of people, they constantly focus on that, and when you're trying to become your best self, you're not trying to become somebody else's best self. Like, you have to focus on what you're doing and making sure that any decision you make, any energy that you put somewhere is towards going to that, or going in that direction that meets your goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in my last podcast I kind of touched on that in a sense when I talked about when you look at your goal, you should be able to know that you're doing whatever you can to get there.
Right.
And I say that because it's really easy to find excuses not to do it or not to get there or find obstacles.
Yeah, like you get scared that it's going to fall through or that
it's fear is the worst.
Yeah, and it's just your mind. Like, obviously there's going to be like what ifs and stuff, but part of resilience too is just shutting those down and just being confident, and whether people are looking at the stuff you're making now, or like that's not going to be immediate all the time, so it's just like keep doing it. You don't know who's listening.
Exactly.
Like, when I wrote my blog, it was really cool because there was people in like South Korea, Australia, Ireland, like Africa, all over the world reading
That's
it.
incredible.
I'm like, this is so crazy.
That's
So,
incredible.
You don't know who's listening to
No,
your stuff.
absolutely.
And you can't compare what people are doing to what you're doing, because it's not.
It's not their journey
It's
either,
not.
right?
No, and that's what's exciting about doing stuff on your own. You get to be so proud of it at the end.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope to get out of my blog, at least. I'm gonna keep writing.
I love it. Do you feel like you need to convince people that you're doing okay? Do you find people are more protective about you, or they're constantly worried?
So like, I made it a goal to start walking at least 30 minutes every day to kind of get myself moving and off my butt, because all I do is binge watch TV. So I've been walking almost every day, and my mom's like, you need to take it easy, you shouldn't be doing that. But like for me, taking it easy is what I'm doing.
30 minutes.
So like,
a day.
yeah, it's not what I was doing before, but it's like my body's starting to be affected by all the sedentary.
Because in a way,
lifestyle.
that could be also not as, that could be bad also, right? Not moving.
It could be, yeah, like weight gain and muscle loss and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm stiff all the time and my knees are sore, so it's like my body needs to move.
They should train together.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. I want to do stuff like that. So I would get jealous though, because I want to go back to the gym. I found it interesting after everything happened, because the gym that I was at, they don't have like their own defibrillator.
Really?
Yeah, so it's not mandated in Canada right now to have defibrillators. In like a lot of public places, I think do have them, but it's not mandated to have them in health clubs and that kind of stuff. So I was really interested to find that, like, I was looking at stats on the Heart and Stroke Foundation about sudden cardiac arrest, and I guess if you're not in a hospital setting, you have like a less than 5% chance of surviving a cardiac arrest outside of the hospital.
That's terrifying.
So learning that, I was just like even more thankful that I was in the right place at the right time with the right people, because being around people who know how to respond increases the chance of the person surviving by 30%. Sure, people know CPR and stuff, and you'd like to think that they're good, but unless it's like a nurse or a doctor or something,
they may not even know how to do it properly.
Exactly. So it's, and like you do it once and then you don't have to do it again for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever it is. That, yeah, you just have to be lucky. So somebody tried to pass a bill back in 2010 about mandating automated defibrillators in health clubs and public spaces and schools, and it was kind of just dropped. Nothing ever came about it. So it would be really cool to kind of talk with people and see what it would take to push something like that through legislation, because if that happens outside of a hospital, and it's so likely to happen at a hockey arena or like places where you're exerting yourself, that people have access to those kind of machines because they are literally life-saving. And I was really humbled to find out that the 5 a.m. Tuesday classes that I do, the owner there, she bought an IED.
Wow.
Because of me.
Wow.
So it was amazing, because like it could have happened at her class, like 5 a.m. kind of thing. Like it literally could have happened anywhere, and if people aren't prepared for it, then the chances for the people suffering it, they just drastically drop.
And that price is a very small price. You know, to put the money in to purchase one of those, something that is life-saving, like you can't put a price on.
No, you can't.
On a life.
It sucks too, because they can be like fairly expensive. They're between like $1,500 and $3,000 from what I've seen, to get one. So I've been talking with like the kickboxing club, and we haven't come up with like anything concrete yet, but I want to do some kind of funding to get them one for the gym.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be amazing, and I don't fault them for not having one, because they had the training that they needed, and like they're so expensive. It's just kind of like, let's try and make sure that people who need them have them, and starting with these two places, like it's a great start.
For sure.
If everybody else can get on board with it, that would be great.
It'd be nice if the government could
Had
find the
something to support with
funding
that.
and not only made it a requirement, but also funded that, because I'm sure there's somewhere, in their pockets where they could find the money to do
absolutely.
that.
And like this price of a life, like it's not, like you said, there's no tag for it.
So. Is there anything that people, the general public could do you think, to help push this or help you in your mission to get these?
If I had a petition, everybody could sign it.
Okay, so that's the next step. Keep an eye out on my Facebook and Instagram for a link to a petition, because we're going to make that happen somehow.
Yeah, I don't know the due process for putting a bill like that through, but I think if I could learn what it took and that kind of thing, I'd be more than willing to kind of advocate for that, because I just don't understand why those kind of life-saving devices aren't readily available.
Right.
I'm sure like a lot of places do have them, but the places that aren't mandated to have them probably won't have them because of the cost.
Right.
So if you're lucky to be at a place that has one, like, it is complete luck, because it's not a law and it's absurd.
Or you just happen to be in a class with a nurse and a paramedic.
Exactly.
So Michelle, if people want to check out your blog, which I highly recommend that they do because it's amazing.
And I'll try to put out another post soon. It's mannersofmichelle.home.blog, and it should bring you right to my blog.
There we go. Check it out. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I haven't seen you in so long.
I know.
It's so nice to see you.
Yeah, we've known each other for like 15 years now.
Oh my god.
If not longer.
How are we that old? I'm not old. You're still young. How old are you? We didn't even discuss that, Michelle.
I'm 26 years old.
26 years old. How do you like that? That's crazy.
I think it is crazy, because I met you when I was 13, so 13 years.
Wow.
That's crazy. Time has flown.
Now everybody knows how old I am. No, they already know, because anybody listening to this is probably related to me. Thanks so much. I want to thank Michelle once again for taking the time and having the courage to share her story with us. She has a lot to teach us about resilience, perseverance, and really taking the time to appreciate our lives and those in our lives. Michelle, I can't wait to see what amazing things your future brings you. I know it's going to be incredible, and I look forward to reading future posts on your blog. Guys, don't forget to check out her blog, Manners of Michelle. I hope you all have a great week, and until next time.